What's up, guys? My name's Alex, and welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a 1-year review on my bike that's behind me here, and I also wanted to tell you about myself, which I'll do towards the end of the video if you stick around. And I'll start with the bike because it started out with the bike and my passion for the outdoors, and specifically Pacific Northwest, which is it's a beautiful area with lots of roads, fire roads, trails, and all of that. And so I'll start with the bike. I went in about a year ago looking for something I could use riding up some trails or back roads, occasional fire road. I do a lot of hiking and fishing, and also camping, overnight. And so I wanted a bike that kind of encompassed it all. I didn't want a heavy bike like an adventure bike, but I wanted kind of best of both worlds because you can jump on the occasional road and you could hit the freeway or the highway and make it up to another mountain. So that's kind of what I wanted from my motorcycle. Now, a couple of buddies of mine, they at the time they purchased a couple of Honda CRF300L, and I was researching between the two, and I was impressed by both motorcycles, and I wanted to see what the KLX had in store. And so from the research that I've done with the KLX300, I realized that the suspension didn't need as much upgrading as the CRF300 needed. I went in, looked over both bikes, and ended up picking up the KLX300. Now, out the gate, as soon as I went on my first ride, the first thought I had was, where was the power? I mean, we're talking no throttle response. Riding down the highway, you gas it and it's just dud. I'm just like, oh boy, what did I purchase? I started researching, and turns out I wasn't the only one that had these issues. One of the biggest things that you could do to remedy that was to change out the exhaust. And I'm talking not a slip-on, I'm talking a full exhaust all the way to the header. And I went with the Delkovic or Delkovich, whichever way you pronounce it. And I went with the I believe the oval, not the X oval, the oval exhaust with a carbon fiber finish on it. And I did a little bit of custom bluing on it with a good buddy of mine out on the front, just to add a little bit of pop to it. It was just kind of fun thing. And then we also did it on the tip as well. So immediately the throttle response came back. I mean, the first and second gear opened up like crazy. I was able to ride up a trail that I would usually have to drop first gear. I'd send it up on second gear, and the gears became longer, so I could ride on second gear a lot longer distance without needing to downshift or upshift. And that really unlocked things for me, and I started opening up the bike a little more. I went with the KDX snorkel, then I put in a twin air filter into it, and that also added, I think they were saying about 2 horsepower. All of a sudden this bike became something that I enjoyed riding. I was able to not compete, I was able to ride with my friends who had the 300L. They also modified, they put Yoshimura exhaust on it, the velocity stack from 550 for the airbox. They also had the twin air. There's a long list of what they did, but I was able to start keeping up with them on the trails. Then another thing that I started noticing is that the foot pegs, obviously out of the dealership, the foot pegs, they're not great. You want to upgrade the foot pegs. I put on some hand guards. What I started doing is I started messing around with the suspension a little bit, because when I purchased it, it kind of sagged a little too much, and all I did is I tightened up the nut on the back, and that's pretty much all I did as far as the suspension goes. And so after doing all those modifications, I mean, the bike just changed. The sound, the performance, especially at like high altitudes. riding on, I'd say, I took this bike up to about, I think it was about 7,000. We were doing some mushroom picking at that elevation, which more on that to come, future videos and all. Then moving on, I started riding the highway a little bit. And that day when we rode up to 7,000 elevation, that was near I-90, if anybody knows, here in Washington State. I realized at that point that this bike is not meant for the highway. I mean, every car that was passing, and this bike was probably, at the time, I was able to probably do around 70 on it, and that's full pin, because I'm a heavier guy, and full pin at 70 miles an hour, the cars that were passing me, the trucks, the semis, I mean, it was just throwing me around. And I quickly realized that this bike is not designed for the highway, and typically the big highways. Now, I have taken it local highways and freeways around the area surrounding, and it does pretty well. I mean, if you need 60, 65 miles an hour, up to 70, I would say you're pretty safe, especially if you're a lighter guy, a little lighter than me. And so it does pretty well at that speed. And then the other thing I noticed is that without the windscreen, you pretty much have to keep your head down. Otherwise, you're gonna feel like you're constantly being like picked up off the bike. And I mean, it's not as fast as your typical, you know, Tenere or a KLR, but that's something that you would want to do, is maybe put on a windscreen if you plan to ride highway a little bit more, maybe your occasional grocery getter. You would want to put a windscreen on. Some of the updates that I'm planning to do is I want to do an ECU. It's a local company that they do ECU flashes and ECU upgrades. That's my next upgrade I want to do on the bike, because it is running a little rich. If I'm saying the term proper, I think it's running a little rich. I'm getting a little pop, especially when a cold start. Within about 5-10 minutes, it gives off a loud pop every once in a while, especially when you're shifting gears or letting off the throttle. And so that's the next upgrade that I'm planning to do, is the ECU. And in combination with that, I'm planning to remove the secondary throttle plate. Now, some people spoke on the secondary throttle plate, and some people say that you need it. Some people say that you don't. From the research that I did, it seems that the secondary throttle plate is there for the highway rider. And especially, I believe, at around 3,000 RPM and higher, the secondary throttle plate activates to let in more air into the engine. Now, if you remove the secondary throttle plate, you really want to upgrade the ECU, because at that point you're going to be really running either rich or lean. I'm still between the two terms. I'm kind of new to that, but regardless, I'd want to get that done kind of in combination. And that would be, as far as performance, that would pretty much be it. And then for the tires, it came with the D605s, back and front. And with the road riding that we do, with the mud that we see here in Pacific Northwest, with the rainy seasons and everything, and especially the west of the Pacific Northwest, you want something beefier, or you want something more aggressive. People recommend the D606 on the back and the Pirelli front tire, both for highway riding as well as riding out here, where, as you can tell behind me, I mean, we're talking logs, we're talking branches, wet branches, rocks, mud, gravel, you name it. Apparently it performs better than a lot of the other combinations. Obviously, Tusk also has a good line of tires that I'm planning to research as well. As far as the future for this bike, I'm going to continue riding it. I will be providing probably another honest feedback here toward the end of this year, after I did all of the additional upgrades on it. If you want to hear more about any certain portion of the modification or kind of how I did it, please leave that in the comments below. I'd be happy to speak on that more. And then as far as, in summary, the bike is geared towards a weekend rider. Not to say that more experienced riders can't use the bike. I mean, I've seen more experienced riders than me use the bike and they do wonders with it. It is a lower center of gravity bike, so the trails, the single tracks, especially if you need to maneuver around ruts and logs, stuff like that, works great. Lower center of gravity means the bike doesn't want to really lean as much. It kind of stays upright and you're able to maneuver a little better. Now, I did a comparison with the CRF 300L. CRF 300L is a little bit higher center of gravity. So the bike just seems to want to kind of lean a little bit more. And from the riding that I did on our buddies' motorcycles, the Hondas, not to say that they're bad bikes, don't get me wrong. They are great motorcycles. And if I was not to get the KLX300, it would have been the CRF 300L. But I do enjoy, and I'm happy that I purchased this motorcycle, and there's going to be more to come with it. Now, a couple of the really big cons, which I kind of touched on, was the riding on the highway. It's not your Tenere or your KLR or the NX 500. This is going to be something that you take on the back roads, up a fire trail. And the other thing is, you need to, when you go to purchase this bike, you got to kind of purchase it with the intent to upgrade and open up the airbox a little more, because you need to let the bike breathe. It comes out choked out. The exhaust, the stock exhaust that came with it, I mean, I could barely fit my pinky in there. That's how small that exhaust was. And the muffler box itself was huge. I mean, it went down underneath, and I believe another resonator in there. So it was choked out. So when I put this exhaust system on there, the bike just was like ready to rip and to be let loose. I feel that with this motorcycle, I can do what I need to as far as the adventures that I do and the exploration that I am planning and already have done. I feel that it's more than enough for what I need. Now, I am planning to purchase a KLR, either a KLR 650 or a Tenere. I'm still kind of debating on that. And that's a future purchase that I'm planning, because we do have a lot of beautiful highways here in the Pacific Northwest that I'd really like to ride and explore more. Now that I've kind of touched on the bike, I kind of wanted to speak on myself and the channel. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I spent a lot of time up in the mountains doing a lot of hiking, camping, truck camping. I'm planning to continue doing that, and I really wanted to start documenting and posting it on here. And if you guys have any ideas you would like to see, whether it's with the KLX or some of the future exploration adventure that we're planning, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. My kids enjoy watching the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and that kind of is the reason why I'm starting this channel. They were always telling me, "Dad, you need to do something like that. Let's go do this. Let's go camp out. Let's go, to the wilderness." I kind of decided to do this to see how it goes. I mean, I still do this as a recreational pastime, so might as well record it and post it up here for you guys. So some of the content that I will be posting here pretty soon in the future will be revolving around the exploration and adventure here in the Pacific Northwest. I will also be doing a review of the bike carrier rack that I use to transport this bike, being that I'm not too confident on taking it on some of the highways out here. So I transport it on my rig up on a bike rack. So I'll be doing a review on that bike rack here soon. Most likely it'll be the next video on this channel. And so I'd really like feedback from you guys. And I will also be doing an overnight on this motorcycle here soon. I have it already planned out, kind of the area that I want to go to. And it's going to be unscripted. It's going to be just how I do things. It's not going to be anything fancy, but it's going to be authentic. It's going to be real, and it's something that I think that I'm finding a passion to. And so thank you guys for watching. Whoever stuck around, I really appreciate it. Please leave a like, a comment, and please subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one.